right, so let's begin. Happy pre-Friday, like they say, right? No, it's still Wednesday. It's still Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. So welcome. My name is Max Ramirez, and I have the privilege of serving MDC students in two ways. At night, my fun job is I teach digital marketing, different topics year round. My day job is BIT manager here where you're at. So BIT, this is built for you. It's new, 2 years new. It's an acronym for business, innovation, and technology. So we're here to support MDC enrollment. How? By bringing you the latest and greatest in information around disruptive technologies in three areas: business, finance, and digital marketing. So the way I explain it to students when they walk in here is, hey, someday you're going to graduate. We want you to leave. You're going to be in front of employers, and they're going to ask you three questions, and the first one's easy. Do you have your degree? Yes. Then the questions get a little bit tougher. Do you have work experience in your field? And in today's day and age of tech, work or proof of work is represented through ICs, industry certifications. So for example, yes, it's great that you have your marketing degree, but are you Google certified, right? And if you're in finance, great, you have your degree in finance, but have you ever been on a Bloomberg terminal? So that is what the BIT is about, to remove that delta between education and what the market wants: proof of work, industry certifications, and hands-on experience. So I can go on, and with that, it's a little teaser to invite you to come back. My office is next door. Just knock on the window, Max, tell me more about the BIT Center. And the best part about everything BIT, it's all I need is an MDC student ID. All our programs and ICs are free for you. Again, that's MDC investing in you. All right, so now, today we have a special guest speaker who's right next to me, and let me present him. Alessandro de Pestel. Little trivia, born in Ferrara, Italy. Ferrara, it sounds like Ferrari. So I did a little research. Look at this. Look at this. Actually, this is, oh, where's my pictures? There it is. Look at that. Not bad, huh? Not bad.
I have some as well, so you can.
So Alessandro's here today to speak from his heart and share with his highlights over the last 35 years, working with and building marketing, through marketing, building global brands. So he is the former CMO and EVP of Consumer Insights of Marketing and Communication. So as I name these brands, I'm just curious, do a little survey. Raise your hand if you've purchased or used these brands. I know you've heard of it. So how many of you have ever purchased Under Armour? I know I have. There we go. All right. Tommy Hilfiger. These are brands that he's helped build, right? And at one point, these things were just products. But how do you go from product to brand and then global? All right, the next one, Calvin Klein. All right, he's got a lot to share with us. Omega. Nice, good taste. Fila. Swatch. Nice. And I'm saving the last one, Dior. All right, all right. So with that, a nice round of applause for Alessandro de Pestel. Thank you for joining us. Where's it? Take it away. There you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the friendship. It's a pleasure to be. And thanks for your time today. Okay, so life in marketing. So first of all, let's start with the question. What is marketing for you? Again, there is no right or wrong answer. So think about it and tell me your definition of marketing. Yes. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Yes. Pushing someone to buy a product. Yes. Something else? Yes.
Or giving people that they need stores.
Ooh, I love this. This is also very, very interesting. Again, because we, especially in these last years, we are looking at kind of evolution of marketing, and I really like this definition. Perfect. Something else?
Create strategies for remote and a global or expensive more areas to product.
Perfect. Yes, love it.
Building of this.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so I love all the definition. Now I'm going to give you my personal definition, which is a little bit extreme. And in my opinion, marketing is the entire company seen from the eye of the consumer. So again, regardless if we see an advertising, regardless if we see a online banners or a kind of editorial or whatever. So you have to think about all the different aspects that can make a difference in consumer eyes. So again, when you think about marketing, consumer is a key word. And this is the beauty of our job. We need to understand the pain points of the consumer. We need to understand the psychology of the consumer. We need to understand the trends. And then because we know this situation, we can really help the consumer to make choices. So now, if you want a kind of interesting book about these kind of theories, This is Marketing. Seth is also a blog, kind of can have Kindle, paper, depends the age that you are, of course. But again, this is a kind of good book. It's a little bit like philosophic, but I think that can give you a kind of very interesting point of view on how marketing is evolving. So now, because of this, who is the most important person in a company? Sorry? Exactly. Consumer. This is vital. Again, as I said, so consumer is the center of your attention activities, and this is the most important. So you are in a conversation with the CEO, you are in a conversation with the founder, the owner of a company, and of course he has an opinion. But the opinion is just a very important opinion. But we are not talking about the consumer. We are not talking about the data. We are not talking about who is really buying our product. So I really advise you, when you are in a conversation with whichever level of the company, go back to the consumer. Invite, even if it's like metaphorically, the consumer at the table. Because opinions are fantastic, but data are power. Anyway, another important concept. You need to make choices. Consumers are not like, you cannot sell everything to everybody. You cannot be liked by everybody. It's 10 times better to be hated or loved than just fall in the middle and just being a kind of brand that is not without a point of view, without a personality. So again, super careful, because one of the classic mistakes is to say, okay, who are we targeting? Everybody. This is a kind of gigantic mistake that you do. So you need to focus, you need to segment, and you need to understand the behavior and the insights of a specific cluster of consumers. Anyway, so now let's talk about me, but even more about what I've learned in all these kind of 35 years working for different brands. Okay, come from Europe, you zoom in Italy, and you zoom in, and Ferrara is here in the Northeast. It's in between Venice and Bologna. So it's a kind of beautiful, beautiful city. And as Max was presenting, this is exactly, you know, the classic Renaissance city with the castle in the center. There are beautiful middle-aged buildings still there, and it's surrounded by ancient walls. So again, it's a kind of beautiful, beautiful city. I cannot talk about Italy without talking about food. This is a kind of the special dish in Ferrara. They are called capellacci con la zucca, which means they are kind of ravioli filled with pumpkin and Parmesan cheese. Fantastic. If you go to Ferrara, you have to try. Anyway, after Ferrara, I moved to Bologna. This is the okay, yeah. Bologna University, I have a degree in law. And again, I'm showing this fantastic classroom because Bologna is the oldest university in the world, and you have the privilege to be part of this kind of fantastic environment. Of course, in reality, the University of Bologna is using this classroom only for official ceremonies. I've never been invited there, but I think it's cool to show it. So again, so then after Bologna, I go to Milano, and I start work, and this is where I do an MBA in marketing and communication. And then immediately after, I start working for Benetton. Benetton is a kind of, I would say, kind of parents, kind of the Zara and let's say less expensive fast fashion company of the past, of today. But they, I think, they were really like ahead of their times because they were doing social campaigns. So when we talk about climate change now, this is a campaign that Benetton was doing in 1992. So one more time, they were using their budget, not with the classic picture of a model on the beach and just, okay, buy our sweater. They were using their budget to start moving this kind of awareness in consumers' mind. Again, 92, so we see now a lot of greenwashing, we see a lot of similar campaigns. This was a kind of revolution in 1992. And then again, the teams were talking about, again, refugees, we were talking about illnesses, we were talking about the hunger and food problem, but also we were talking about inclusion, equity. So again, I think that Benetton, again, and I was very lucky, I was there in these kind of fantastic years, so it was probably 30 years ahead of the time with a kind of very, very significant form of advertising. I was working in the press office, so really like, by the way, still sending faxes, you maybe don't remember, so we were sent like paper stuff through a kind of machine. I still don't know how it works, but okay, so it's like magic. Anyway, so the faxes, again, I was, and this is also something that you can kind of advise if you are at the beginning of your career. So I was not like super excited about the press office work per se, but then it gave me a kind of very good understanding of how the relation with influencers or, again, journalists are working, and also the value of the news. Why? Because the Benetton strategy was to have a very limited advertising / media budget, but getting a lot of coverage from press. So again, this is, I think, the New York Times of the day. The gentleman in the picture is Oliviero Toscani, the photographer who created this with Luciano Benetton, the owner. So what they were doing, they were saying, okay, let's amplify our marketing budget with press office activities. So and again, you can look at this from a kind of dark side in a way, because again, they were using social themes to create extra visibility. But personally, I believe that was a very brave choice to really decide to move completely from the traditional fashion advertising and have this kind of things. But again, don't underestimate the power of extra earned media. And at the same time, if you start a job, start something, and then sooner or later, this will become important in your career. So after this, I moved to New York, and this is exactly my apartment. Unfortunately, it's not the beautiful apartment that you see, the loft. I was living on top of the deli grocery, so kind of super smelly. But again, I was living the dream. I was super young, working in the US, and this is again my next advice. Of course, it was a kind of gigantic leap, jump for me, again, coming from Ferrara, working in Italy, and then I said, okay, let's give it a try. So my second advice, if I may, is go out of your comfort zone. It's 10 times easier, you know, to stay at home in Ferrara with your mom doing the Cappellacci. Yeah, totally. But it's outside your comfort zone that really the good things can happen. So again, living in New York, working for Swatch, and probably some of you remember the golden days of Swatch. This is also where I was super lucky. I was in the moment where a plastic watch for $50 was sold for thousands of dollars, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, some specific limited edition. So again, one extra message here: scarcity. So limited edition, the power of keeping the market short. Think about Air Jordan now, think about a lot of brands like maybe Balenciaga of this world. So there is an incredible power in keeping the market short. So you have more demand than your offer. This creates this kind of effects, this creates kind of collection trends, and by the way, is increasing the perceived value of your product. So scarcity is another important concept that I ask you to consider. So now, Swatch, by the way, was also a kind of early adopter of collaboration. So now again, you can name a brand and another brand, and they are doing a collaboration together. So you know this, right? So it's like from the Prada, Adidas to whatever. So Strange Days, Netflix, apparel collection. So you see a lot of incredible collaboration at the point that, in my personal opinion, there is a kind of level of deja vu, of kind of, yes, seen it all. So, but again, this is Keith Haring, who, by the way, just did, not him, unfortunately, he died. But again, the foundation of Keith Haring is just doing a collaboration with Hugo Boss in these days. So again, this is the first, one of the first art special of Swatch, and the collaboration that I've seen in my life, but again, is 86. So again, now when we see about all this kind of new collaboration and exciting moment, don't forget there are brands that have done this almost 40 years ago. So collaboration not only with art, collaboration with fashion as well. I think that this is Vivienne Westwood. She was the kind of punk rock queen, and also she did a lot of actually 3 watches for Swatch. So, but another important message here is before the fact that, of course, Swatch was creating this kind of limited edition and this scarcity concept, was the fact that Swatch was treating the collectors and the buyers in a very different way. So now we all talk about CRM, we talk about customer relationship management. Here is an example again of 40 years ago where Swatch was capitalizing on collectors, creating limited edition of special watches only for the collectors, having a database of the collectors, creating special events. This is Michael Jar in Zermatt, creating special events, especially experiences for the collectors and this part of the database. So one more time, when we think about CRM today, this has been done already 40 years ago and from Swatch. So again, very advanced concepts. And of course, now when we think about Red Bull, again, all the first of all, I love Red Bull, and we can open a chapter on Red Bull. I'm just saying that even, you know, the sponsorship of beach volleyball, snowboard, extreme sport was done already by Swatch in the 90s. So very advanced. At the same time, when I was running global advertising for Swatch, and this is also just to give you a level. So we ran a TV commercial. If you have time, check on YouTube how long is this watch minute? We won Cannes, Epica, Eurobest, Clio Award. So we won every possible award in advertising at that time. And was based on a kind of concept of relativity of time. So again, you will see the TV commercial looks very 90s. This is why I'm not brave enough to show it, because it's really like, you really feel the age. But again, if you have time, go through it. The concept is fascinating, by the way. And again, we were trying to create something that was creative, but at the same time with a kind of depth. The message here that in this year, and we are talking about again, in the 90s, we were just producing a TV commercial every 6 months. So now, if you think about now the content creation that is changing, you know, for every specific micro segment, you get bored after probably 3 times you saw something online. So again, in these days, we were still producing a TV commercial every 6 months. We were buying TV, GRPs. Then you know that if you have a certain amount of share of voice, you can gain X amount of market share. It was very kind of mechanical. But again, in terms of production, we were producing, again, 1 TV commercial every 6 months. So now, if I say something like this now, you say it's impossible. But again, in 30 years, it changed completely the way companies are producing content. So then, in New York, I met my actual wife. So she's very patient. She's still with me. We don't know why, but again, it's like she was working for the United Nations, and again, I was selling plastic watches. She was saving lives. This is a little bit the bipolar relationship that we have, but again, it's successful. So at least for me. So not sure for her, but again, it's a good it's a long marriage. So after New York, I moved to back to Italy, Biella, another beautiful city, where I started working for Fila. So now, after the highlights and the fireworks and the incredible success of Benetton and Swatch, I've been called by the Fila organization to relaunch the brand. And again, Fila in the 80s was super successful. This kind of tennis, ski, country club world. And then, you know, after an incredible success, went down. So I was supposed to go there and to relaunch the brand. And unfortunately, it didn't work. So again, sometimes you are lucky, you are good, sometimes you are unlucky, and you are not able to perform. So again, this is my other message. It happens. So especially when you work for brands for 35 years, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. So I have a lot of excuses why it didn't work out, but I take again my responsibility on marketing and communication, of course. But there is a kind of pattern that you have to see here that I saw then at Tommy, I saw it Under Armour. So when a brand is super successful and is super successful quickly, then at a certain point, you need to keep the trend. You need to keep the double-digit growth, especially if you are listed in any stock exchange, even more here in the States. So at a certain point, the brand becomes a little bit colder, less appealing, less trendy, but you need to keep the number. You need to keep selling. So what do? You start increasing the size of the logo normally. You decrease the price and you enlarge the distribution. And then to keep the double-digit growth, for example, then you start going in distribution channels that you normally don't consider. And this is where at the end, you know, when I joined Fila, we were produce product like this. So you see how, again, different is because then you need to keep the growth. So think about now, I don't know, Abercrombie. Abercrombie was incredibly successful, was a fantastic brand, and then all in a sudden, again, big logos, large distribution, lower the price, and it went down. So it's a kind of trajectory that you see in a lot of brands. Anyway, from highlights and fireworks to a kind of failure, it's okay. So you move on, you need to learn, and I called back my the owner and the founder of Swatch and Swatch Group, who owned a lot of different brands. So Breguet, Longines, Omega, Tissot, Swatch, you name it. So then I called him and I said, listen, you know, this kind of project is not working. The company Fila was sold to a kind of hedge fund / the Korean subsidiary. So I'm looking for a new job. And he said, listen, no, I have Omega, who is one of the brand of Swatch Group. Omega need a kind of evolution, not a revolution, because it was a kind of 135 years old brand. So okay, can be the VP of global marketing and communication for Omega. So I take the job and I intentionally use a color picture that looks black and white, because this is how the city where Omega is based is. So again, and this day Rolex is there, Tag Heuer is there, Omega is there, Swatch, Longines. So again, this is the Swiss compound where all the watch brands are, but it's a kind of very boring and very black and white city. So again, sometimes you have to make choices, and sometimes, unfortunately, especially when you are younger, your private life gets a kind of trade-off. As I said, so if you are young, maybe you can take again the gamble. When you are older, probably your quality of life should rule your decisions. But again, it's different by all of us. So again, Omega, great experience, super fun to work the marketing. So America's Cup, Olympic Games, Michael Phelps and all the other sport, golf, a lot of sport, sponsorships and timekeeping. So very great experience. And at the same time, we are able to bring back with the entire team Omega to a growth. And at the point that even we are beating and more successful than Rolex in China and Japan. There are also other reasons except the fantastic job that we have done. So there are economical reasons about it. So as I said, so fantastic. And then on top of the sport, we start the collaboration with the 007 movies in terms of product placement and collaboration with other celebrities. For example, we sign Nicole Kidman. There is a fantastic, funny story about 007 movies where so in a sequence again there is this kind of watch that has a kind of laser inside, you know? And people, they were going in the store asking for the laser watch, which of course was a kind of special effects of the movie. So again, be super careful what you put in product placements, because then you create demand. Just to give you an idea of the numbers, before 007 movies of this kind of watch, this is a kind of watch for immersion, for diving, we were selling, I don't know, 300 watches like this. So after the movie, we were selling 20,000 watches per year. So again, don't underestimate the power of marketing activities that are not, let's say, traditional, or they were not traditional when we started, because sometimes it pays off incredibly. So now, another very cool story is about for example, when you do a product placement, I think that the rule is even more valid these days. You don't pay in a kind of fee to the producers, studios, Hollywood, or whoever is the owner of the rights. You pay in media exposure. So you are helping the success of the movie when it goes in the theaters. Of course, now you have a lot of mix because you have the Netflix, but in principle, your currency is to help the success of the movie when it goes out to the people. So, and then I assume that, for example, think about Barbie now, look at the zillions of collaboration that they did, and the co-marketing operation. I think that, by the way, they did a genius work. I love the Airbnb and all this kind of unexpected part. But for sure, what was the objective of the operation was to amplify the visibility of the launch of the movie instead of just making money and be more profitable. Why? Because then in the long term, of course, you make more money because the movie becomes more iconic. Okay, again, so product placement, how you pay, and also what comes back. So then after Switzerland and the city of Biel, sorry, go to Paris. Actually, at that time, my wife was already in Paris and I was commuting every weekend from Vienna to Paris. So I decided to find a job in Paris. Super lucky. Headhunter calls me and I start working for Dior. So now, so I was not, I was working in the communication department. I was not EVP or CMO there, but I was in charge of the communication globally for the fragrance segment of the business. So when I'm there, I am, let's say, observing one of the, let's say, in my opinion, biggest question mark that I have about brand management. So just to give an idea, so this gentleman, John Galliano, a genius. By the way, this was not kind of carnival or Halloween costume. He was dressing like this every day. So just to give you the personality. But again, an absolute genius, totally crazy. Unfortunately, went through a lot of personal problem with addiction. So then he lost the job and now, but now he's back, he's healthy and he's designing for Margiela. So he was designing the women business, and Eddie Slimane, who is now, I think, designing Celine, if I remember correctly, was designing the men business. So again, you have the same name on the door, but then you can already see from the pictures and from the personalities how schizophrenic and bipolar this kind of brand was. And if you go even deeper in terms of, let's say, this was print advertising. So again, you see how John with this Nick Knight, a fantastic photographer of a British fantastic photographer. So they were doing this kind of image of kind of porno chic, and again, Giselle was the muse of this campaign. And then on the other end, you have sorry, I think that Max, you took it. I have the power back. Okay. So, and then on the other end, Eddie was advertising his collection. You see, very minimal, very pure, very shape conscious. And this was the image of the brand. So one more time, you go from here to here, and the consumer technically should be totally confused. So now we can talk about segmentation. You can talk about the fact that the women buyer was not affected by the men buyer. So there are kind of technical reason, but again, I don't know how you can have a brand kind of two different positioning, DNA and visual language, and be super successful. So again, now is a little bit better, but still very different, still managed in a very different way. So now and I was in between the two, which of course was not very fun. So then I left without a job. And this is another message for you. Again, sometimes you find yourself in a kind of toxic environment, toxic for me. You know, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying it was not healthy for me. So, and sometimes you have to make choices and you leave. Again, yes, of course, I didn't have kids, was a kind of easier choice. But again, if you don't feel that this is your place in the universe, change, because the place, the job, the environment is not going to change. The only thing that you can affect is yourself. Classic kind of Buddhist concept. So again, I left without a job, and I started kind of two projects. So this is where, actually, this is a project. This is my wife's project. This is where the Zambezi River does the Victoria Falls. There is a small city called Livingstone, where Lucia, together with the local ONG and an Italian ONG, created this kind of concept that is a kind of professional school that is teaching about hotellerie, like chefs, waiters, hotel people, and also textile producer. So actually what this professional school is connected to is to a restaurant, hotel, and the boutique. So actually the money coming from the restaurant, the hotel, and the boutique are funding the professional school. And the people learning in the professional school are then hired in the hotel, in the restaurant, in the boutique. So again, it's a kind of circle that doesn't need anymore the fund and the money of donors. So a kind of self-feeding system, which is again, I think is magic. And I'm just helping there. So for sure, the ONG and Lucia, they were just there. Personally, I start another project, and this is a kind of art side project where instead of canvas, I start using bicycles as canvas. This is a kind of inspired to samurai. This is to Jackson Pollock. So again, if you want to check the work, is akabichi.it. So again, you are without a job. So let's try to do something interesting in your life, and this is why we started this kind of project. But then from bicycle to bicycle, a headhunter in Paris called me and said, listen, I have a job in Amsterdam. Okay, so we have to move again. But again, Amsterdam is a beautiful city, bicycle city. And I start working for PVH, who is the holding, the financial owner of different brands, Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. And actually, this is another beautiful story, not only for the quality of life, but also for the business story. When I joined Tommy, let's go back 1 second. We were doing 500 million when I left. After 12 years, we were doing more than 2 billion. So kind of fantastic trajectory. Calvin, very similar, but more stable, around the 3-4 billion revenue. So growing business. So again, two fantastic stories from a marketing point of view, but also from a sales point of view. Again, teamwork. I cannot take the credit of this success by myself for sure. So, but then again, Tommy started the concept of fashion shows that are gigantic production. And this was quite again, an early adopter. So now we see a lot of this kind of gigantic events. But in the past, it was very kind of classic. So you invite people in a kind of under a tent, in a theater. You have the dark space, the catwalk with the white lights, and then you have the models up and down and goodbye. So here we started a kind of gigantic productions. So this is, you see, we took a kind of pier in New York. We opened the pier with activities for 2 days, and then we had a special catwalk at the end of Saturday night, open to general public. So one more time, not anymore focusing only on the fashion journalist and the elite of the Devil Wears Prada, with all the love that I have for Anna Wintour and the journalist fashion system, but we start opening to normal public. And then on top of it, we together with other fashion brands, of course, we understand the power of the influencers and the cross-contamination of the social channels of the invite. For example, Taylor Swift was posting and filming from the front row, and this gave us a kind of incredible extra visibility that normally in the old traditional way of doing a catwalk, you don't have. So again, was a kind of very interesting, very successful, together with other brands, approach from a kind of activation point of view, distribution point of view, but also at the same time, it was a see now, buy now concept. So normally, especially in the Dior days, and I assume that in a lot of luxury high-end brands it's still the same. What you see on the catwalk is not what you buy in the store. And also normally is 1 year before. So consumer forgets if the product is produced, which again, in the haute couture is for sure not, but they say in the pret-a-porter, yes. So if the product is produced, you have it in store 1 year after this activation. And this was also the change where we were saying, listen, we are not haute couture, we are not luxury, we are accessible luxury. Why we don't capitalize on the Taylor Swift video and then immediately you can buy the product the same day? It was a kind of big revolution. Of course, a lot of maisons are still screaming at the Antichrist, but was, and it's still happening at Tommy. So we also did a kind of collaboration with Gigi Hadid, super successful. The business, the women business was growing incredibly fast thanks to this co-designed collection. Again, seen 300,000 times now. In these days was a little bit more unexpected. So Calvin, on the other hand, I think that this is the image that you have from Calvin, like very sexy, the alien Justin Bieber, 60% of the business is underwear, the rest is denim plus accessories. But again, here we talk about the quintessential Calvin Klein. Sexy brand, people half naked, beautiful bodies. Okay, it's been like this for 30 years, super successful. Till this gentleman arrives. So this is now co-designing Prada and Miu Miu. So, and this is a total genius. So again, he is the is like probably one of the best designer, in my opinion, in the more creative, the more creative designers in the fashion industry. But and again, it was a kind of attempt to combine a kind of haute couture mentality, a super advanced aesthetic sense with the previous kind of brand. Could have been a fantastic success, but But then this is what Raf was, so the name is Raf Simons, sorry. But this at the end, how the brand was represented, and I'm using again print advertising to make it faster. So you see how immediately you create a kind of gigantic disconnection with the previous Calvin, but also the consumer was not recognizing the brand anymore. So you, in my opinion, Raf Simons here was trying to, again, have a haute couture message, and then, you know, okay, I have to sell 3 billion of underwear, let's place the product there. I'm more extreme, but again, maybe I'm not so wrong. But again, unfortunately, this exercise didn't work out. Could have been genius or a disaster, and it didn't went well. So Raf left and is now designing Prada. So again, just to say again that he's a total genius. But again, and now Calvin is back to the traditional positioning. Let's put it this way. They're doing, of course, a lot of more advanced marketing, but bottom line, the essence of the brand is still there. So now in Amsterdam also, my 2 kids are born, and please don't be scared. Now they look better than this. So they are trying to kill each other every moment, but at least they don't look like in the initial picture. So this is why Amsterdam, fantastic experience, 12 years, quality of life magnificent, business going well, family happy, and then, you know, all in a sudden you get a phone call and your life change. So Under Armour, brand that you know, American brand, quintessential American brand, going through a trajectory very similar to the Fila, the Abercrombie that we were discussing. So incredibly successful in the first 10 years, listed in New York, the baby of all financial analysts, and with a super clear positioning, like blood, sweat, and tears. And then all in a sudden, the brand is losing a little bit of the appeal, and at the same time, a lot of different choices are changing in a way the DNA of the brand. On top of the traditional trajectory that we were discussing before of bigger logo, lower prices, bigger distribution. So, and then you start finding, with all the respect that I have for the TJ Maxx of this world, when you start finding product in TJ Maxx for $8, then this is a terrible effect on the brand. So again, but I got a phone call from Baltimore, from Under Armour, and my love for sport, of course, was one of the variables that maybe decided. This is again my middle life crisis. So I love sport, but also at the same time, yeah, time didn't treat me well. But again, I was playing American football in Italy in the 80s. So American sport was always a love for me. Yeah, I'm number 7, of course, as you can tell. So then this kind of call from Under Armour, if you combine the fact that, again, I love sport, I love the American sport, I lived in New York, I was running global brand. So again, the combination of all these factors made me decide to go, and also made them decide to hire me, which was quite unusual, you know, to have an Italian running a quintessential American brand. But the objective was also to become more global, less US centric. So again, it was part of a different trajectory of the brand. But also at the same time, I think, and this is why I don't underestimate what you are doing on your side, not in your professional life, because I think that there are potentially there are moments that are helping you to get a specific job. I'm sure that this kind of love for American sport in the 80s made a kind of a difference in the recruiter and also in the team, and also in the founder and the owner, which of course is this guy. So again, he was playing in the University of Maryland, Kevin Plank, starting from scratch the Under Armour business, and then talking about the understanding of the consumer pains and the point. He was playing American football at college level, NCAA level, and he was wearing like cotton t-shirt, so they became super wet. It was like not performing well. So he invented this kind of compression lycra sweat out product, and then by himself he will start selling this to pros, to other colleges. So anyway, so in 10 years he became super successful, kind of billionaire when he was like 30 years old or something like this. So a kind of classic quintessential American story of success, kind of American dream. But then, as I said, so because of some choices, because of this kind of Wall Street pattern, then all in a sudden, Under Armour killing his brand, selling to cheap retailers, and also making some choices that were not consistent with the DNA of the brand, especially if you are a young brand. So if you are Adi, that is super established, 100x years, or Nike, 50 years, you can play more. When you are, at least in the specific case, Under Armour was probably changing too many directions too fast, and then the consumer was confused. So this was my welcome to Baltimore. This is a real advertising that was on I-95 in Baltimore. But again, I intentionally decided to take this kind of challenge on a lot of different areas, because I wanted to be part of the relaunch of this brand. So, and when I left, all the marketing KPIs, we were back to growth, successful again in the US. So again, with the entire new team that was there, we were able to really do a kind of turnaround, not a complete turnaround. By the way, don't look at the price now, because with stock exchange going how it goes is like, but again, this was the, now, again, I thought that, I was giving a kind of good impact on marketing, and there are all marketing KPIs everywhere in the world, they were back to green. And then all of a sudden, I lose the job. Of course, very tough from a personal point of view, very difficult to digest. I was working 25 hours per day with, again, a big, let's say, trade-off with my family, because I was always like, and then on top of it, I lose the job. So the technical reasons was, Alessandro, we are changing the role. We don't need a CMO anymore. We want to combine sales and marketing together. So thank you so much. This is your package. Goodbye. And I have to tell you, when you are 56, I was like, 50, 56, 57. And you love what you're doing. And again, apparently your job is making an impact together with the team. Of course, this is very tough to digest, and you need to do a lot of work with yourself after, because it's really creating kind of gigantic disruption in your life. So again, this adventure ends, but again, there is a kind of another Buddhist that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is the best thing that happens to you. So it could be bad luck, it could be good luck. So then I end now living here in Miami, in Key Biscayne actually, My family is super, super happy. The kids are completely integrated in this kind of multicultural city. My wife happy. So then again, something that was like a disaster when it happened, at the end, ended in a kind of very positive situation. So again, yes, it's tough, as I said. So you have to work with yourself when the kind of these things are happening. You don't digest it overnight, but then again, sometimes could be good luck, could be bad luck. It was good at the end. Now again, I'm working with the University of Bologna, so I'm trying to give back to my old university. So I'm part of the International Advisory Board. I'm teaching their marketing strategy, and also I'm consulting with a company called Metis, a kind of small consultancy company, like 1,200 people. The difference that, for example, we do partnership with brands. This is like the idea that is happening right now in Porto. So with Hugo Boss, we built a kind of digital campus where the consultant and the Hugo Boss team are working together for the digital strategy. And this is very different from the traditional consultancy world, where you normally leave a PowerPoint and you go. Here is we are really putting our hands in the dirt together with our clients. So I have another 5-6 slides, but they are a little bit dense. So I prefer to jump to the Q&A in case you sorry, no. Before we go to the Q&A, if you need another book about the future evolution of marketing, and now we move from let's say the TV commercial every 6 months to a kind of gigantic quantity of content, super micro segmented. I think that this is a kind of good book. Sorry, you need to take pictures. Okay, good. So thank you so much for your time. And as I said, so I was trying to combine the kind of private life with some of the learning. Thanks for your time today.